It was meant to be a harmless witticism. That is what I told myself at any rate. We were at a chum's birthday supper, a homely bistro, candlelight fluttering against wine goblets, mirth echoing across the substantial table. My husband Arthur was sitting beside me, silent as usual. He has never been the boisterous one in any assemblage. Serene, composed, the kind of gentleman who attends more than he speaks. I used to cherish that about him. But lately, that tranquility had started to feel like separation. So when my friend Alice nudged me and whispered something about blokes who never observe when their wives smart up, I laughed. Far too loudly. "Oh, tell me about it," I said, grinning as the table turned our way. "Arthur still hasn't noticed I had my hair trimmed 3 days ago. I could arrive home with azure hair and he would just ask what is for supper." Everyone erupted into laughter. I felt a pang of guilt, but the attention felt pleasant. Someone else added, "He's probably just petrified to say the wrong thing," and I participated in the jest. "Oh, please," I said. "He utters nothing." The giggles grew louder. Arthur just smiled courteously, eyes fixed on his platter. I noticed that look, the faint, weary smile of a gentleman who had heard quite enough but did not want to cause a fuss, and still I did not stop. I made one more joke about how at least the canine listens to me, and everyone roared again. For a moment I felt like the principal attraction of the table. But when the chuckles died down, Arthur finally looked up, not at the group but at me. His voice was calm, quiet enough that everyone had to incline in to hear. "You know," he said, "it is funny how much you talk about being disregarded when the truth is, that is exactly what you have done to me for a number of years." The words landed like a pin dropping in the middle of a noisy throng. The room went silent. Even the clinking
glasses ceased. My heart started thumping, and suddenly the incandescence felt excessively bright, the atmosphere too dense. "Arthur?" I started, but he held up his hand, still placid, still unwavering. "No, it is all right," he said. "I comprehend. Everyone requires a chuckle. I just did not realize my nuptials were the butt of the joke." He rose then, not crossly, just calmly, and apologized himself from the table. "Have a pleasant remainder of your evening," he said before strolling out. No yelling, no commotion, just a declaration in silence that said more than I ever could. The gaiety that had filled the table moments prior evaporated. No one spoke for a full 30 seconds after Arthur departed. 30 seconds that felt like an eternity. I could feel the heat creeping up my neck, my hands quivering in my lap as everyone gazed at me. Alice tried to ease the tension with a nervous snicker. "He will settle down," she murmured, but even she sounded uncertain. I manufactured a smile that did not reach my eyes. "He is just highly strung," I murmured, feigning it was nothing. But fundamentally, I knew it was far from insignificant. His words kept reverberating in my mind like a gong that would not stop ringing. "That is exactly what you have done to me for a number of years." I made some pretext to quit the supper prematurely. The motorhome felt more protracted than usual. The house was dim when I arrived. His car was not in the driveway. I sat in the living room, still in my dress, staring at the timepiece. Midnight came, then one, still no sign of him, for the first time in a long time. I had room to think, truly think. And the truth hit hard. Arthur had always been unflappable, reliable. The kind of gentleman who noticed little things even when he did not say much. I was the one who had changed. Somewhere along the way, I had stopped seeing him as a person and started treating him like background chatter in my own story. I thought about all the times he had reached out. Small gestures I had dismissed. The times he had asked, "Are you all right?" And I had replied, "I am fine," without even looking up from my phone. The dinners he had planned that I canceled because I was too fatigued. The mornings he had made coffee and left it by my side, only for me to leave it untouched. He did not ignore me. I ignored him. The weight of culpability was suffocating. When Arthur finally came home around 2 o'clock in the morning, I was still sitting there. He looked exhausted, not from anger but from disappointment. He did not yell or demand explanations. He just said, "You mortified me, Clara," in front of everyone. "I know," I whispered, tears blurring my vision. "I did not mean to." He cut me off gently. "You never mean to, but you always do." He walked past me toward the guest room. That quiet hurt more than any fight ever could. The silence between us felt like a wall I did not know how to break. That night I lay awake, realizing that sometimes the words that destroy love are not cruel or loud. They are the careless ones we laugh through, thinking they mean nothing until they cost us everything. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of the shower running in the guest bathroom, not our room. That is when I knew the wound was deeper than I wanted to admit. Arthur was a quiet man, but his silence was a language of its own. When he spoke less, it meant he was hurting more. He left early for work, skipping breakfast. No note, no farewell, just absence. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chair across from me, the one he had always pulled out for me with a small smile. That tiny act of courtesy, something I had once taken for granted, now felt like a memory from another life. Days passed, and the distance between us grew like an invisible fog. He still did everything, fixed things around the house, paid bills, kept procedures, but the affection was gone. He was courteous, aloof, and profoundly calm. And in that serenity I saw a gentleman who had finally ceased trying. It was not until the next family assembly that I realized just how much I had broken something in him. We were at my parents' commemoration supper, surrounded by relations, when my cousin joked about Clara always having the final word. Everyone chortled except Arthur. He just looked at me with that same quiet sadness and said, "She always does, even when it costs her tranquility." The table fell silent again, just like that night a few weeks earlier. But this time, the humiliation burned more intensely. I did not defend myself or laugh it off. I just looked down, feeling every fragment of regret I had concealed. After supper, I found him standing outside watching the metropolitan lights. I walked up and said softly, "You do not make quips anymore." He turned to me, eyes weary. "There is nothing amusing left between us. Clara, you took the joviality out when you made me the target." That line shattered me completely. I wanted to tell him I was remorseful, truly apologetic, but words felt hollow now. Apologies could not efface years of deprecating him, of making him feel unseen in the name of harmless gags. That night I finally said what I should have said long ago. "Arthur, I miss us. I miss the way you used to look at me." He looked at me one last time and whispered, "Then maybe you should have looked at me when I still did." And that was the night I realized sometimes the moment you think you have secured a laugh, you have already lost a relationship.